This is Clyde's Honest Reviews, where I have a strict set of rules that I follow upon reviewing new and old titles alike, and whether or not I would recommend them for the average viewer. What's important to you guys is important to me, and the biggest factor in recommendations of video games ultimately boils down to the amount of enjoyment I can get out of the title for my money, which leads to the major factors of my review system: the pros, the cons, the potential, and, well, most importantly, gameplay hours, or likely gameplay hours, versus the cost of the game, that is. Why did I make this system? Because I got tired of hearing people recommend games for story or mechanics alone. Sure, a great story or mechanics would go a long way. But when all is said and done, if your game's only fun for 10 hours, or I can 100% complete it and not want to replay it after 30 hours, I shouldn't be paying $60 for it. What's going on, everybody? This is Clydian Fayre, and first and foremost, I want to welcome you all to the channel. We're going to be pushing the rest of the fluff and stuff off to the side for now and digging straight into the content, since that's what you're here for. Slasher's Keep is a first-person hack-and-slash dungeon-crawling roguelike. Players will soon find themselves dueling enemies in melee combat, shooting magical darts from wands, and smacking people into traps with the use of a rucksack in no time. This game has a pretty solid directional-based combat system, and is definitely great for those of us who enjoyed the combat from Mordhau, Mountain Blade, or even Kingdom Come Deliverance. The melee mechanics aren't as in-depth as Kingdom Come Deliverance, but there is a basic forward-direction combat system, where the player is able to slash or swing a weapon from side to side, overhead, or thrust forward. There are some ranged mechanics, where a player can utilize a wand to attack enemies, but these are few and far between and have limited spell charges, which makes them more of a sidearm or novelty, or something to avoid using and just sell for extra cash. The artwork for this game is beautiful though, and it definitely pays a bit of homage to older text-based RPGs. That being said, the use of flat, two-dimensional assets on a 3D plane definitely paid off, as I haven't seen or rather played a recent title that looked or felt this way. So what's the overall gameplay loop? Players will start off in a prison cell where they are tasked with breaking out and escaping the heap. They will need to fight enemies to gather experience and level up, and then use their attribute points to increase their stats and utilize skill points to lock in new skills they find while exploring. Players will lose a set amount of levels and experience, which means stats and skills, every time they die, but they will be able to regain their lost experience and more by using the combo kill XP multiplier in lower levels. Rapidly murdering enemies before the combo timer runs out increases the amount of XP given from each defeated enemy. So, a player who can clear the first level without losing the multiplier will earn significantly more experience than one who has to slowly explore and dispatch enemies. The levels themselves are randomized, so each death brings you to a newly generated dungeon that the player begins to navigate, which means that there may be new traps or puzzles hidden in every floor, so make sure to explore everything thoroughly. There's also a unique crafting system that will cause the player to craft impressive weapons from random components they find throughout the dungeon and then shove them down a trash chute so they can use them in their future runs. So far, I've mostly positive things to say about Slasher's Keep, but what are the negatives? That's the thing. There's very few negatives out there. There's some depth perception issues that I've ran into while playing. This is mostly caused by the art style, which can definitely be frustrating at times. At other times, some flying enemies will not register the player in the same room as them, which causes the player to have to attempt to draw aggro by either shooting them with a wand or running and jumping to get closer to them. Which sounds like it isn't that big of a deal, except wands aren't necessarily readily available. There can be a bit of a standoff waiting for the AI to come within melee range, especially if they're flying ranged units. Which leads to my next complaint. There just isn't much ranged capabilities, and any ranged focus skills are just not balanced in comparison to the melee skills. The limited charges and wands really messes with the usefulness of wand-based skill sets. We're playing a roguelike here. Min-maxing's a large portion of your progression, Why would I waste level up points in a wand skill when there's a melee skill that's just far superior? It's literally a waste. Anyway, the pros. Unique gameplay loop. A nice mix of forgiveness and punishment. And unique artwork. How many times did I say unique? The cons. Losing a crafted weapon will make you cry. I've done it several times. The crying and the losing of the crafting weapons, that is. The depth perception of the artwork. It can cause some difficulty with distance gauging. That's a minor tweak, and mostly due to my incompetence. The AI has some minor issues, especially flying mobs, and even more so if they're flying in ranged mobs. And finally, the biggest one, ranged weapon skills feel underwhelming. There's just no reason to take them. Sorry. Time to cost. Here it is. Main factor. Bottom line, the ultimate truth. Your hour to dollar ratio. Coming in at a hefty price of $14. That was a little bit of sarcasm. It isn't that expensive. Slasher's Keep is one of those indie games that definitely hits a mark on pricing. I can honestly say that this title's probably worth close to $20, and I wouldn't be mad about it, but I'm also not complaining here. $14 is great. As of the recording of this video, I have just over 40 hours of gameplay in the title, and I can definitely see myself playing more in the future. This brings us to just shy of 3 hours of content per dollar spent, which earns itself a pretty solid buy recommendation for me. Definitely worth its current price, and if it ever goes on sale, it would be a steal. I'd like to thank you all for sticking around for the video, and as always, feel free to leave a comment or drop a like on the video if you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more review videos such as this in the future. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can actually see the new videos as they go live. Until next time, have a good one.